Thanks, Bart.
No, I think that's everyone. Good afternoon. It is Wednesday, April 23rd. It's 4 p.m. and this is the Palm Springs Airport Commission monthly meeting. I want to call to order first with our pledge of allegiance. Commissioner Young, you want to lead us today? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic stands one nation. All of us. Time is the agenda been posted.
Yes, the agenda was posted.
Let's do a roll call, please.
Sure. Commissioners Banks,
Here.
Berryman,
Here.
Burke,
Here.
Caldwell,
Here.
Corcoran,
Here.
Delgado, Evansteiner, Fong,
Here.
Hedrick,
Here.
Keel,
Here.
Martin,
Here.
McDermott, here, Hart, here, Sam Lanska,
Here.
Boss,
Present.
Wise,
Here.
Wiseman.
Here.
Young,
Here.
thank you.
Thank
We
you.
have a quorum.
Great. The agenda has been posted. We need a motion to accept the agenda. So moved. Second. Great.
That's Banks. Motion to accept the agenda, Banks,
Yes.
Berryman,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Delgado. Everybody Sanders absent. Fong,
Aye.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Keel,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
McDermott. Yes. Hart. Yes. Sam Laska,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Wiseman.
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you all. Any public comments? Any comments here in the room or on Zoom?
We don't have any scheduled public speakers. If anybody on Zoom wishes to make a public comment, please raise your virtual Zoom hand. Anyone in the room? No public.
All right, we have the minutes for January meeting on January 15th. We'd like to propose the approval of the minutes. So moved. Second.
Banks,
Yes.
Berryman,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Fong,
Aye.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Keel,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
McDermott. Yes. Hart. Yes. Sam Laska,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Wiseman.
Yes.
Young,
Yeah.
thank you.
Awesome. All right, discussion items. First up is the conference room update. Victoria, what's happening?
So we are currently in the review of all the proposals. We still do have the conference room scheduled to go out of order after the May commission meeting, which I think is May 21st. So currently we're going through that evaluation now, and then hopefully we can proceed with starting on May 22nd.
And our June, July meetings will be held where?
Currently, we're hoping we'll go ahead and proceed with the conference room across the street.
The large conference
Yes.
studio?
Yes, right now, that's what we have locked off. If there's any changes, we'll let you know.
Well, y'all know where that is. Large conference room is right behind the actual council meetings. Great, okay, anything else?
That's it.
Good. Noise committee.
Yes, we just had the fastest noise committee meeting, I believe, in history. So for the period January through March, yes, it's very quiet, what do you like? It's 7 registered complaints. Of those 7 complaints, 4 were of commercial flights. And of those 4, 2 of them were just based on the timing of the flights. 2 were military and 1 was general aviation. There was nothing additional to report.
Questions of the noise committee? Any comments from anyone else in the room? Anybody else online?
Room, anybody on Zoom wish to make a public comment, please raise your virtual Zoom hand. Anyone in the room? No.
Good. Concessions update, Lowell.
Thank you so much. Chairman Workman, Vice Chairman Burke, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to give you a concessions update. Big Door opened up on Friday, February 7th. Hours are from 4:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sales continue to do well. Paula and Athena Sipple of TKB Bakery and Deli stopped by the airport on Tuesday, April 8th, and provided feedback that said that the sales at the Pink Door were exceeding their expectations. Golden Voice opened up on Wednesday, April 9th as the Coachella Lounge. Merchandise consisted of t-shirts and hooded sweatshirts. They operated from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. on Wednesday, April 9th, Thursday, April 10th, and Thursday, April 17th. They did not open on Wednesday, April 16th as planned, but they did open on Monday, April 21st from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m., meeting the 4 sales day requirements in the agreement. The Golden Voice revenue report will be due to the airport by May 15th, at which time we'll be able to report back on their sales. Just a reminder that the lease agreement calls for a minimum revenue guarantee to the airport, to the city, of $6,430 for 1 month's rent, and 20% of gross sales for their activities. Future aeronautical and non-aeronautical use for this space is now being considered. Trio and Trio to Go open on Friday, April 11th. The hours there are from 5 a.m. until the last flight. And according to management, sales are meeting expectations. Vino Bolo is expected to open in the next few weeks. It has been delayed due to waiting on the liquor license. We have been in contact with Riverside ABC to find out where that liquor license is in the process. I hope to have an update to you, or at least have a location open by our next meeting. There was one issue that was raised during the recent health inspection of the Vino Bolo location, and that is that there is no roof covering over the server's workstation in the outside bar area. This is a concern. So when Vino Bolo opens, that outdoor bar will be temporarily closed until a permanent solution can be identified. Menu for the Vino Bolo location will include breakfast. I know it sounds like Vino Bolo, who would want wine in the morning. But there will be breakfast items and there will be coffee served. And they will be open from 5 a.m. until the last flight of the day. Fig and Plum, there were some questions raised by members of the Airport Commission regarding Fig and Plum, and I'd like the opportunity to answer those questions now. The hours of operations of Fig and Plum are different than the rest of the locations. It's from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m. So if you're traveling in and outside of those hours, you may notice that location closed. There were 3 opportunities where Commission reported to us that the location was closed. In checking with management, it was determined that 1 was due to the water main break that we had here at the airport. Therefore, the kiosk was closed. When a transformer blew, no power was available, and that was the other time that the kiosk was closed. There was 1/3 opportunity, or 1/3 instance of the kiosk being closed due to staffing issue, and that lasted 20 to 30 minutes. Management is aware of the need to have that location open during the hours that they have stated, and will continue to strive to do that. The question was asked by members of the commission about when will it be shut down, now that Trio is open and Vino Bolo will hopefully open soon. The shutdown for the Fig and Plum is planned for mid-May. As far as the removal of the kiosk that's there, after the shutdown, the contents must be emptied The inside must be cleaned, and then the kiosk can be then removed. The Movie Colony is the last of the remaining concept beverage, or excuse me, concept offerings by Paradies, Grab and Go, and we do not have an estimated opening date available at this time. I know, Chairman Corcoran, you're always asking about airport wins, so I'd like to talk about some airport wins with your permission, please. Paradies has won Best Overall Retailer and Restaurateur in the highest regard for customer service category during the recent Airport Experience Awards. The awards took place in Washington, D.C. on March 29th to April 1st. A quote from Greg Paradies, if I might. "We are thrilled and honored to be recognized as the best overall retailer for the 28th consecutive year." End of quote. Paradies won the award as Restaurateur with the highest regard for customer service for the first time this year. Recently in City Biz magazine, Palm Springs and the locations of Trio and Vino Volo were mentioned in the April 22nd edition, featuring Paradies and the awards that they recently achieved. At the same awards event, W.H. Smith, our retail concessionaire, was also recognized as the retailer with the highest regard for customer service. We are looking forward to our concession partners delivering their exceptional customer service to our travelers at PSP in the future. That concludes my update for executives. Thanks, Tony.
Questions, please. Quick question. The Vino Polo, there's an open air issue, no roof, correct?
Yes, it's right up above the outside bar where the servers would be standing. That was seen as a health issue.
So how can that be corrected?
We are currently working with Paradies to come up with a solution for that area that will alleviate any concern the health department might have.
Okay, thank you. Other questions?
One quick question, was there any consideration, since we don't know when the new colony will be opening, is there any consideration to keep Dig and Plum on beyond May?
So we actually had a meeting with Pam from Paradies on Monday. That's one of our discussion items.
Great, thanks.
Unless there's healthy grab and go, I understand that is supposed to be returned someplace else. Then it'd be great if they just keep it open.
Sure.
And just to keep in mind, you know, since we're going into our summer hours, we're gonna have like less passengers, so we're probably going into summer hours with our concessions. So that will also be evaluated as well when we have our discussions with Harry.
Ken, you had something?
No, I'm going to.
So just a couple comments. I've had a couple friends who are taking the 5:30 flights and the 6 a.m. flights. And the concessions were not open. I know that the rule of 45 minutes before the first flight goes out. Is that correct, Harry?
That is accurate.
30.
30 minutes before the first flight. So that means 5 a.m. So our first flights are at 5:30, correct?
Yes, but do you know which store this was by any chance? Or which stores? Because I know that, we've had this discussion in the past in regards to what was once Santa Rosa Kitchen, which is now Trio. So do you know which stores?
Cactus in the Clouds was closed, and it was the American flight.
Okay. So we can look into that.
Is it possible? Sorry, is it, I mean, those flights are probably boarding 30 minutes before, so they're probably not, right, probably not gonna hit it. It's like that.
So they are contractually obligated to be open 30 minutes beforehand. We know in the past, they were working, coming in an hour early, specifically at Santa Rosa Kitchen. I do know that there's been some management changes. The general manager has changed, so maybe that could be something we just need to talk about with her and like remind her about that, so. And they did that as a courtesy to us.
Let's double check on that and just see if that's happening. Now, speaking of the general manager, I know that Paradies was interviewing for a new manager to manage this. Have they hired somebody?
No, not yet. So right now, the regional manager has stepped in as the general manager here.
Okay, all right. So we continue to follow up on the opening times and the closing times. All right. This coffee situation, you know, there's a lot of pressure in Coffee Connection, which screws up the Mexican restaurant when you have big long lines there. So when these other venues open up, you know, Volo, I know Trio, Todd, you said you were able to get coffee there at Trio, which is great. Are we doing anything with our greeters, or can we do anything from a signage point of view, just to direct people to the other options? Remember, that was a big part of our discussion, that all of the venues would have morning sandwiches or breakfast sandwiches and coffee, so we could direct people to all of them. Is there anything we can do now that they're opening up to advise people? Because we've seen the long lines of the Coffee Connection, which also, again, affects getting access to the Mexican restaurant. Is there anything else we can do to make people aware as these open up?
Both options are a great idea. Absolutely.
Do you take it on?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
I might get some help from Jake.
That director we have in the courtyard actually does know where you can get coffee, cocktails, food, whatever, at every single location. So, you know, our Trios listed on there, getting coffee, there's a coffee shop, is also on there as well, so.
And I'll just add on to Kevin's comments. I noticed, you know, when I was visiting last week, there were probably 20 people waiting in line at Coachella Valley Coffee. That was not going to be enough for me, but I knew to go up the escalator, and I walked, literally, I was the first person to walk into Trio to go. So I'm not sure if people are always looking at signs. It's great to have them, but we have such great navigators here, and they do such a really nice job. So I think it might be worth looking into their volunteer hours to see if we can add additional people who are just sort of roaming to be able to assist people in these programs.
Absolutely. Good idea.
When do they start, the navigators?
10 AM to 2 PM in the courtyard.
All right, so
So why not just have a sandwich board outside
I was thinking,
of
security.
security and say coffee, breakfast sandwiches, and just list all the places and arrow in what direction they are.
I was thinking that, yeah. Can we do something like that?
I mean, that's low tech, I know. Yes, we can.
That's
Just
Yeah,
take it.
we did some of that during some of the other construction, before we went from PSP Coffee to the other, we got some of those up, we could do that, yeah.
Because people don't know. And now that these places are open, and yes, that was always our vision to have all these places offering coffee and breakfast sandwiches. Let's let people know.
Can I just interject to say that it's good to differentiate between regular coffee and espresso drinks, because I would imagine there's a long line at Coachella Valley Coffee because people are looking for espresso drinks in particular.
There's some truth to that, Kevin, but I also know that it still takes 25 minutes to get a cup of coffee, which adds to some of the frustration that people are having standing in line and all of that. But again, with these venues open, well, you were able to get a latte or something at Trio.
And walk right up.
Yeah, and walk right up. So another layer, if you can make that happen, let's see if that helps.
Yeah, the directory we have after the printed one actually does differentiate, it tells the type of coffees that each location has on it as well. But again, yeah, we can do some sandwich boards and some different things, we'll check it out.
All right.
Yes, again.
Unrelated concessions, I think each of my last 3 departures, when I strolled around the boat terminal, one or more of the vending machines up there were out of service. And I've never actually used them, but it's a curiosity to me that, you know, sometimes both of them are, and each of the times at least one of them has been, so someone could check on that availability, that would be great.
Is that recent? Like within the last month?
Most recent was about 3 weeks ago.
Okay. And we do know that they have been having challenges. One of the reasons was they were not prepared for the heat with those type of vending machines being outside. However, you're absolutely right. We do bring it to their attention again this year.
So everything else in concessions, okay, we can just move on. I want to discuss another question. On the Golden Voice experience. It's great that they had a great retail experience. Did people actually come into the space? Did anybody observe like how people use that space when the hours they are open?
Yes, actually, so we had a long line, when it first opened up, so it was kind of, since we had so many people coming inside, are leaving the exit lane and heading towards the baggage claim, but then you had a long line of people that were kind of wrapping around the stairs down here. We had to go out there and do some like crowd control to put some stanchions and kind of, control where everybody was, waiting at, so, people were just in there, grabbing, purchasing shirts, just lining up, and then it was actually really nice to see that space open and additional use for the passengers, so it was used.
So one of our airlines is looking for additional office space, and they may be candidates to take that space. Our partners at Fuse, we've been working with them and Jeffrey Bernstein about coming up with other ideas to use that space that could be more customer focused, used for people who are waiting for folks to use that space somehow. And I know that we're still playing on all those options, but have you scheduled the meeting with Fuse to talk about their ideas on how to do it?
I'll defer to Tanya on that one.
Yes, we have that meeting, upcoming, it's in May.
I think you're supposed to be part of that marketing people as well.
Okay, yeah.
There's a series of ideas we've been working on to use that space, so people waiting for people to arrive, people going to relax, and also can use it for advertising revenue. But again, just to be totally transparent, that idea may be competing with an airline that's looking for additional space as well. Not the ideal place for offices, but that's what's going on behind the scenes. So let's have an update in our May meeting about where we are with that. Folks with Fuse, and make sure we all get that done. All right, any other comments from the public around concessions? Any comments online?
If anybody online wishes to make a public comment, please raise your virtual hand. No.
I just wanted to thank, well, we're getting really good initial feedback on Trio. So let's hope that it continues to do well. Like the other venues, we still get positive feedback, so keep that going. Thank you. Daniel, marketing update, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. So 2025 continues off strong. Market passenger numbers were 493,450, almost 500 million total, up 4.3% over 2024, our third record month of the year. Great news. Hopefully that sticks for the rest of the year, but we shall see. Looking ahead, the scheduled departing seats, we're still looking strong for the summer. May's up almost 6%, June almost 13%, July a little over 18%, and August is up almost 11% compared to the same time next year. Looking at air service updates, we have some good news from Delta Airlines. They're adding a third daily frequency to Salt Lake City. It was previously twice in the summer, so an additional flight to Salt Lake, which increases summer connection opportunities. Great news, especially for those who love Delta. They can be a little difficult to fly out of here in the summertime. On the other side, Allegiant unfortunately decided to cancel the conversion of their Bellingham seasonal to year-round service. They're starting decreasing summer demand, and that season is going to end on May 26th. Will return this fall. If you recall, previously it was a year-round route before the pandemic, then it went to seasonal since COVID. This was the first summer they're going to take it year-round again. But with the political climate and the 75% decrease in cross-border traffic, land traffic at least, they're facing a lot of downward pressure on the route, so they're having to keep that as a seasonal route. For those who aren't familiar, Bellingham, Washington, on the border of Washington State and British Columbia, Allegiant uses that as their kind of Vancouver airport. It's about an hour drive from downtown Vancouver to the Bellingham airport, including the border, depending how traffic is on that one. So they rely heavily on Canadians coming across in the US to support that airport. So something new I've added in here is to look ahead at our Canadian seats, arriving Canadian seats we have for the summer. Now I want to stipulate these seats, this chart you're seeing, that's just seats arriving actually from Canada on Canadian Airlines. So WestJet's the only airline that operates in the summertime. They're operating Calgary and Vancouver. June is still looking good, up 12.4% compared to June of last year, Canadian service. July is down 21%, which sounds like a big number, but if you look at the total seat count, we're down 708 seats in the month of July, down 354 in August, but we're up 8.2% or 447 seats in September. So basically what's going on is Calgary is operating 4 days a week. It's now going to 3 days a week in the summer. Vancouver is 3 days a week. It's now going to 2 days a week. But both routes will still continue to operate through the summer. And then WestJet will evaluate all of their service going forward, depending on what's going on with the economy. And so Second, we have some feedback from our Canadian carriers and just other, our consultant went to World Routes in Europe, week before last, I think it was. And spoke to a lot of international air carriers, and they said that our location in California, well, second homeownership in Palm Springs, also just California itself seems to be buffering the storm a bit better than some of the other US, simply because just how other nations view and just know the differentiation, the differences between the states and the United States. So being in California is helping us, plus our second home ownership is buffering us a little bit, so it's a bit of a silver lining for us on that front. To know what we're looking at for the summer on real impact is just too early to tell right now this time. Most airlines are taking a wait and see. The data we have is mostly historical for the airports on the data we have. Some airlines have reported, United reported on their earnings call, I think it was last week, they're seeing a 9% decline in Canadian traffic. I don't have information specifically on what each carrier, what the US carriers carry from Canada to Palm Springs. So that's why they include all information just from our Canadian carriers, and that is easy to pull. Today, but I also want to note in our March passenger numbers, Canadian Airlines passenger numbers were up 2.1%. So maybe there's a bit of a positive for us at least. On a marketing front, as you guys know, we continue to market PSP. We're creating awareness and promoting our strengths. We got 3 world summer campaign themes going this year. And the first one is you can get anywhere in the world from Palm Springs. So while we do continue to advertise and have always advertised our nonstop service, the big message we're trying to drive home with our overall advertising throughout the year is that you can get anywhere in the world from Palm Springs, trying to negate that thought process. A lot of people in the area think, well, if Palm Springs have a nonstop, I have to go to LAX, and in fact, you don't. So that's really trying to message or try to get out there and make people realize, make a quick connection from Phoenix, Denver, instead of driving to LAX. Another we're doing for our Canadian service to Calgary, Vancouver is a Beat the Heat style advertising this summer, telling people to get out of the desert, go up to Banff National Park, Lake Louise, visit Vancouver and cool off a little bit. And we're working on we're also being promoting the calm and ease of Palm Springs in the summer months versus busier Southern California airports. If you see in the summertime, Ontario, LAX, Orange County, San Diego, they're putting out lots of message about get here early, it's busy, because most airports in the US are their busiest months of the summer, where ours, we're just not coming out of our busy months. That's a message that we don't really promote this time of year, like in March and April, because we don't want to say there's no lines at Palm Springs, quick security, we get here the day after Coachella and it's a 45-minute line, right? But that's a great aspect we have in the summertime, so we're trying to promote that. So instead of going to LAX, drive to Palm Springs, check us out. Some other things we're working on to create awareness and promote airport is our working with airlines to plan promotions for new summer service. Like Portland, Frontier, we're asking if they want to give a couple of pairs of round trip tickets that we can raffle off on social media, work with the local radio station, and also work to do some promotions with some existing service. Some other partner airports we have service to have reached out about doing a promotion about the service between our 2 cities. So that's some upcoming things that we might have to do this summer. And then some other updates, Navigator Mobile Assistance Team, at the request of the Navigators, we didn't think they'd want to do this because it gets really hot, but they want to test extending the courtyard location, mobile locations post-summer. So good timing for this. I imagine we'll probably expand hours earlier in the morning. That might be something great for them, because after 11 a.m. it gets very hot out there. Of course, it'll also be weather permitting, so we're going to get our Navigators nice PSP branded hats, get some bottled water and things out there for them, since they're gonna be out there working for us. And then we're gonna leave it up to the Navigators if they want to go out there, depending on the temperature and if they want to be out there in the heat. So we're kind of gonna play that by ear and see how it goes this summer, and then kind of just try and adjust schedules going forward based on our experiment with that. Customer experience program plan development is still in progress. PSM Squared is doing stakeholder interviews all around the valley, and they're doing surveys. A survey was just sent to the full commission, I think yesterday it was. If you guys have not had an opportunity to take that, please check your city email and take that survey. PSM Squared takes 7 to 8 minutes to take that survey. Not a lot of time, but a lot of valuable information we can get from you guys on that. So please, if you can have that done by this Friday, we would be most appreciative. And then last thing I have for you guys, the roadway banners that I reported on last month that just didn't withstand the wind. The vendor got a partial replacement up. They are holding because the wind, so we're very excited about that. And they should have a full replacement of the banners complete by end of April or the first week of May.
Have you received any reaction from United on the IAD flights?
What I've been told, actually not nothing on the February performance. It's actually been a lot better. They're really happy with the load factors and the yields on it.
So have they thought about doing that as a way of connection to Europe?
I have not had this conversation with them yet. There were some conversations with it, I know, because that was really negotiated between Visit Greater Palm Springs and United. I know part of the negotiations, required it to be a daytime flight, so a red-eye flight. And to make your European connections on the East Coast, you don't have a red-eye flight to be able to do that. So there are some connections, but I don't know what the full taking structure is.
Most of the European flights leave at 4, 5, 6 p.m.
It does connect to United's last international.
Does it? Okay, good.
So like when they have their London, it connects to that, it connects to their last evening departures as well to the Northeast.
Yeah, they have some Northeast US ones.
Because I used that once and it was really nice.
Great.
So I was a frequent user of I.
Yeah, no, last update I got, which was actually just earlier today, they were having February performance. I'm going to a conference in June, it's called Jumpstart. I'll be having face-to-face meetings with several of our airlines. I'm waiting on my final meeting scheduled to come out, but I have requested United amongst all of our other incumbent airlines to sit down and chat with them about our existing service and see about potential for new opportunities.
Friends who have used that flight as well as the Alaska flights from New York are really complimentary.
Good.
It's just so easy for two cities, so I'm hoping the airlines are going the same way.
Yeah, everything I've talked to United, they've been happy with it. I know they said January performance wasn't quite what they wanted it. They said February met and exceeded it. It's meeting what they needed it. So I think some of that too, January is it just started in mid-December. So it takes some time just for awareness of people to know it exists. So I think as it continues on and each season comes back, it'll just get stronger and stronger.
Other comments or questions? Just kudos to our partners at Fuse for the We Love Canada piece that was reflected throughout the airport. You know, the mayor came up with that idea, which was brilliant, and I probably saw the amount of that got to the LA Times front page article, and also the Guardian, others picked it all up. And it was great to see that we were able to mirror that program inside the airport, so thanks for that. Some of you may have seen the terrific article in the New York Times about Cactus to the Clouds. Explaining the whole history of the hike and all that other stuff. I forwarded it to Jake and I said, what can we do to either post this article or perhaps borrow it and have an explanation somewhere in that bar or around that bar about it, because it's a really good article. So Jake, any ideas on what to do with it and how we can do it?
Yeah, well, Kevin recommended a QR code with the article, which is a fantastic New York Times article. If you haven't had a chance, please check it out. Unfortunately, it's a paywalled article, so if you don't already have a subscription, that would not work for many people using the airport. So I recommended we can come up with our own version of that story, get it posted in the bar somehow. Either a panel there, a QR code, so we're looking at that.
Next meeting?
Great
We'll have
update.
it. Awesome. It's a really cool article. We should probably share it with you. And you can see it. I think that if people get to read about it, it'll be other, and I think we're geniuses. So let's get that done in the next meeting. Go to the public. Any questions on marketing, either in the room or online?
If online, please raise your virtual hand.
Daniel, thank you. Good job. Victoria, financial update, please.
All right, good evening, everyone. So the financial update is a financial update based off of a point in time when we actually put these financials together. So this was through March 31st, 2025. And I'd like to report that we have 4 funds: our customer facility charges, passenger facility charges, airport operation and maintenance, and then our capital improvement projects. And between all 4 funds, we have a surplus of about 17 million. Anybody have any questions?
The financial results. No surprises. We're in good shape.
I had just one question on that. I was just wondering how that last slide with the project listing relates to Fund 416.
Yes.
Just when I compare like the budget number at the bottom, 98 versus the budget in 416 of 197 expenditures.
Yes, so that list is a rolling total of capital projects. And even though our budget has a different number, this is based off of what we've had in the city's financials or in the system. So, that number is a combination of what we requested with the city budget and what has been rolled over from prior fiscal years.
Got it.
Any questions? Victoria, is anything going to city council for their approval? Any major financial requests going to city council for their approval?
So yes, Commissioner Corcoran, so this was something that we discussed at a little bit earlier in the meeting, but or before the meeting, but the report of council action items, which is item 10B on the agenda. It highlights a few items that are going to city council on upcoming city council dates. These are proposed, these are not 100% set in stone, but this kind of gives the public the idea of what we intend on taking to city council. Let me try to get to that.
It's item 10B, your package. Toward the end.
So up on the screen and also in your agenda, as Commissioner Corcoran said, item 10B. We do have an item that's going to city council tonight for rejecting all bids for the baggage handling system inline screening project. As well as on May 14th, we have 4 items that are proposed to go to city council, as long as we can get all the items that we need for in time for submission to city council. And then, so that includes a contract services agreement for maintenance personnel training services, a Southern California Edison easement for electric vehicle charging stations. I'm not sure if y'all recall, but maybe last year, maybe a year and a half ago, we purchased a bunch of EV chargers that we want to put in our public parking, but we needed to get an easement from Southern California Edison. So it's kind of taken us this long because we've been working with another government or, well, another agency. And then ABM Aviation, that's our parking management services. We're doing an amendment to that to amend the scope. As you notice, we have operations aides that are working our land side. It's a portion of the ABM contract that we actually brought in-house to provide better customized customer service to our passengers. We're also looking to add some equipment so that we can enhance the passenger experience for our public parking. So as long as all goes well, because we're also coordinating with our IT department to ensure that we're putting the proper infrastructure in there that's going to last for a while. We intend on taking that to city council. And then lastly is the Market Retail Group concessionaire amendment number 1. We're adding the pink door because originally that request for proposal, when they first bid on it, it was only supposed to be a vending machine operation where there was not any staff there was not any coffee. Hey Joshua Coffee, I think was supposed to be in a vending machine, but now we actually have some more customized personal service there. So we're doing that, we're adding that. And then Lowell, the duty free part of it, can you remind me what that section of the amendment of doing with the duty free?
Yes, so thank you, Victoria. The change is with regard to the actual location for the kiosk for duty free, as well as the bonded storage area that is required by CBP. So adding those 2 requirements into the amendment, into the agreement, as well as the fee structure, a 12-month fee structure followed by a review period after 9 months, and then a new fee structure based upon the performance going beyond that would be added into the agreement.
Yes, thank you so much, Lowell. And then the last item that we have proposed on May 28th is the notice of completion for the taxiway rehabilitation project. So that was a project that was about 90% funded by the Federal Aviation Administration. So that project has been completed, and so we're filing the notice of completion with City Council.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. One, can you just give a little more information about rejecting all baggage claim proposals?
Yes, absolutely. So it's actually also included in the City Council agenda for this evening. Oh, yes, Carmen, yes, Carmen, thank you.
Commissioner, I have it from the report, so we'll elaborate what Victoria is saying about the rejection of the bids.
So basically what happens is when we went to bid earlier for this project, we went in February to bid on this project. The bids came in March, on March 20th, only one bidder bid on it. So there was not sufficient competition to see if the bid is relevant. So the staff, what we did is like we reach out to the industry and also to the other potential bidders to find out why there were no other bids, because it's one of our biggest projects that we are undertaking. And after that, we sat with the city staff and we find out what were the reasons. I think one of the biggest reasons a lot of bidders don't bid is because city has a self-performance work of 50%. So that means the prime contractor has to do at least 50% of the work. During the addendum, we reduce it to 30%. However, still for a lot of industry contractors, it was very high. So what we have done, and if the rejection has been approved by the city council, we are actually going to bid this project tomorrow. We staff is all prepared for the document, and we are reducing that self-performance work to 10%. We also made a lot of technical changes, with our design engineers, they were about close to 50 RFIs when we went to bid on the first time. So we took all those RFIs, our design engineers did a lot of detailed line items and everything to make sure that we are getting most of the completion. So that's the reason for the bid rejection.
And the one other thing, past city council actions, the firm of Kaplan and Kirsch LLP was hired as general counsel for the airport. And how was that done? I mean, they're a great firm. I know the firm. When I was a public finance banker, we used the firm. They are top notch. My question is, I mean, this is the first I heard about it. Maybe how were they selected and who else was in the bid? I mean, could we talk to Brown Wood, Davis Polk? Okay, I mean, there's a list of great firms. And considering the political environment.
So we went through a request for proposal, and that was ran through our city procurement departments. And so what they did was similar to like the bid for the outbound package handling system. They went through and they posted it on Planet Bids. Everybody had an opportunity to go online to put in their proposals. They were selected based off of a rating criteria along with others. I think we had maybe five different companies that had put in their bids. And then we ended up interviewing the top 3, and then there's also a rating criteria that we have to do, and then we ended up selecting Kaplan Kirsch because they were the highest rated company.
And do you remember who the other top 2 were?
Not off the top of my head, no,
Okay.
but it's in the city council agenda for the last council meeting, so it will have that list. on
Okay,
there.
I'll go back and look at that. I was just surprised. And I actually think that something like when we select an FA or a general counsel or a bond counsel, that at least it should have been run through the commission.
I'm sorry, actually, it's the 5 companies up here. Oh, wait, let's see it, well, Eagle Law Group, Urban Cohen and Jessup, Kaplan Kirsch, Mayor's Nave, and then Richard Watson. And
Gershon. Yeah, okay, well, of all those, I would have selected the one that was selected, but.
But I think you make a really good point, and I talked to Victoria about this earlier. City council came to us and said, "Are we aware?" And this went on their agenda, and did we vote on it? I'm not sure we need to vote on it, but we aware of this, we were not. So, that's why we're asking the questions about what's going to city council, so that there's no surprise here. On the part of the commission, for something at that scale, it's like 2.7 million.
7.7.
Whatever it is.
2.7.
2.7.
Yeah, we should be aware, and so that's why we're taking the time to make sure that we understand what's going to council in case we need to talk about it.
And then we actually have Jeremy Holm with BBK here today. Do you think that we should put this on like an agenda item and for discussion for future
Yeah, that was my recommendation for just items that are going to city council. So future city council items can be included as a discussion action item. And, you know, most of the time, there might not be any questions on it, but, you know, we would provide an opportunity to have a nice chat about something, if there's something that catches your guys' eye, you know, so.
It's just a great example, because council did come to us and say, did you know about this, and had you discussed it, you had insights that we could have been valuable for us in making this recommendation, so we'll make that change moving forward. Fair enough? With the lawyer's blessing. Anything else? Ready to move forward?
Anybody from the public in the room wish to make a public comment? Anybody on Zoom, please raise your virtual Zoom hand. No public comments.
All right, Carrie, employment update, please.
Yes, so in terms of our staffing right now, we've got about 15 frontline positions that are not filled. A lot of those positions are due to just movement in the organization, whether they be promotions, retirements, people moved on by the career opportunities. So we're backfilling most of those positions. Up on deck are our operations specialist 1 position. We just recently filled our operations 8 position. We do have a climate action and sustainability specialist position. That recruitment is being run in coordination with City Hall, with sustainability director. And then a couple of maintenance technician positions that we need to fill, but overall, those positions are moving along relatively quickly. What tends to be the slower recruitments are the middle management and upper leadership positions. But we have had some success in that area in recent weeks. So we were able to make an offer finally after 2 years on the deputy director of capital development. We anticipate that that individual will start June 30th or right around that time. We are in our final stage of interviews for the safety management systems manager. We have the security manager recruitment that's out, and I was just notified right before this meeting that we had 12 candidates that were being referred for that position. And then we are going out again for an executive administrative assistant, and then the innovation and strategic implementation administrator. So things are moving along, and we're getting positions filled, and that's the update.
Great, thank you. Questions on employment? The capital development one, the big one that we've been trying for, did we wind up rescoping that and with a new comp plan?
We were able to make an adjustment to the compensation, and we provided relocation for that position as well.
Questions, please? Anybody in the public? Anybody online?
Please raise your virtual Zoom hand if you'd like to make a public comment online. No public.
Let's go to capital projects. Harvard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and respected commissioners, the RMC project manager. And I'll provide some updates to the projects that I'm reporting in my report. The first one is the Bono Concourse escalators. So last week we received a proposal from RS&H, which is our on-call engineering services, to do a review on the escalators, the existing escalators. That proposal has been approved by the executive director, and we are in process of providing the task order and notice to proceed. That notice to proceed should be done in next 2 weeks, and this report or the review should be done by end of July. So they are expecting about 2 months. So just to give some, what they're presenting in their proposal is they will present us with 2 options. The first option would be to remove the existing escalators, replace them within the same available space. The second option is to remove the existing escalator and replace them with a longer unit that would require some increased length on the lower bit of the west side that may need some excavation. Their proposal also will provide us the rough order of magnitude cost that will cover the new cost of the escalator, the mechanical engineering plumbing that is required, structural architecture or landscaping. So I think by end of July, we can come back to the commission and present them what options we are and how much is the cost. So we are moving forward towards exploring in an engineering way our escalators. The second project is our shade structure, which is a major GA project. Currently, our on-call architect firm, Gensler, is doing a shade analysis. They are actually providing us some rendering and some options that we are coordinating with the HSPB staff member to make sure that they are on board. Once we have finalized those drawings and the rendering, we will present it to the HSPB board, and we are expecting to go in June. This also will have a rough order of magnitude, a cost for the design of these shade structures. The third project is the outboard bound baggage handling. I just explained that, we are doing bidding that project because there was no competition. If the bids go out tomorrow as planned and staff is prepared to do that, we should be expecting the bids to come back around end of May. And then we'll bring it back to the commission, what the bids come down to that. Another project that I want to give some update is the restroom design for the terminal, which the commission remembers initially we were trying to renovate all the restrooms, which are total of 5 restrooms, 2 on Bono, 1 courtyard, and 2 on the Avoca Henry counter. The original, the initial design was about 2.3 million to design all the restrooms. Our executive director gave us some direction that why don't we phase out the approach? So what we have asked Chancellor, instead of giving us a design for the totality of the terminal, just give us a phased approach, which is just the Bono and the courtyard. That proposal came around mid-April, I think April 15th, they provided us the proposal that we are evaluating right now. And once the evaluation is done, it will take about 2 to 3 weeks, and then we'll then bring it to the commission, the next steps are. So I think the phased approach gives us more options, which is more budget friendly, and we can design in a lesser money, of course. And the last project update is another measure here, which is the concrete furniture, which is the mid-century auger furniture. We already have a purchase order issued, and we should be expecting the furniture delivered and installed by mid-July. There's a lead time of 12 to 14 weeks, but hopefully by end of June or July, we should have this furniture installed. Any other questions commission could have, happy to answer.
Question, please. Quick question, with the talk of tariffs and things of that nature, will any of that affect anything we're trying to do here at the airport?
I'm sorry, I missed it.
With tariffs, the talk of tariffs, things of that nature?
Of course, actually, as Victoria was mentioning about this conference room, we were actually notified by one of our general contractors. There are talks of some subcontractors about the tariff. They haven't seen any increase in the price or any delays in the supply chain. But we were made aware of to be mindful that this will come down, but we haven't seen it yet. But we are mindful, just like when COVID happened, that these things can happen. Yes. All right. Thanks for the question.
Other questions? Just a comment. Sure. On the deliverable on the escalator piece. Is it possible to make the request to see if we can get that before, so we can discuss it in our July meeting, because we're dark in August, right? There's no meetings in August?
No meetings in August.
Okay, so that means we don't talk about it again until the middle of September. Is it possible to go back to the vendor and say, hey, can we get the report so we can talk about it at the July meeting and don't lose our momentum?
Definitely, we can make it.
That would be good. That would be good. All right, any other questions? Great report. Thank you so much.
Anyone from the public wish to make a public comment in the room? Anyone on Zoom, please raise your virtual Zoom hand. No public comments.
All right. Terry, executive report.
Yeah, there are a couple of things in the executive director report. I know that Mark and Victoria were kind of trying to give this update since I wasn't supposed to originally be here. But I'll give a couple of sentences and then let them take it on. So every year we have, as an industry, the airport industry, we have an annual conference in Washington, DC, a legislative conference where that's an opportunity for us to get together, not only with senior leaders of the federal agencies such as the FAA, TSA, Customs and Border Protection, but also to work with our legislators and congressional leaders on objectives for the next year. And typically in those meetings, we are asking for appropriations requests, changes to legislation, policy agendas, things like that. So a couple of weeks ago, Victoria, Mark, and I had an opportunity to make that trip. It's actually a very productive trip. We had 14 meetings scheduled, a lot of FaceTime with a lot of leaders on a range of issues. So I'll turn it over to Victoria and Mark now to kind of get their spiel.
Honestly, I will turn it over to Mark, because I think Mark will probably better explain it, but it was I echo what Harry has to say. It definitely was a great experience. It was great to hear the challenges that they're experiencing on Capitol Hill. And then, some of the requests that we had, because some of the funding that has been removed, like our law enforcement officer funding, our passenger facility charges haven't been increased since the year 2000. It's been $4.50 for, 24, 25 years. And so, you know, that's just one of the things that we were asking, like, hey, can you guys, you know, talk about this? We need to increase our rates. So anyway, I don't know, I'll turn it over to you, Mark.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah.
Mark Wire with Daily Strategies. Thank you for having me. We had a really, as they both said, a really productive week there in Washington DC. Now, this coincided with an airport director conference that was occurring. So we used that visit to really have more meetings with our electeds, rather than doing 2 trips. And so we're being fiscally prudent about this visit. So those 14 meetings were really great. We've had meetings with majority and minority leaders. We had a full 30-minute sit down with Representative Calvert, who represents this district. He's on appropriations. So we had a discussion with him about the earmark request, the community directed funds that we had for our outbound baggage handling system. That was pulled for all members from this past year as part of the continuing resolution. He indicated to us that he was planning on putting that back in as a request for this next fiscal year. They're looking at possibly having more requests per member with this next cycle. So we'll see what happens. We all know that this administration is very unpredictable. We got a good sign from Representative Calvert and staff that we're moving in that direction. We then worked as a daily strategy side of the team. We worked as per his request. Representative Calvert asked if we can get more letters of support for the project. So we reached out to many of the cities that are represented here and got letters of support from 8 different cities and entities to add to our application packet. So those all get submitted back to Representative Calvert and staff. They go through a process and then they submit those through a committee process for funding. We did the exact same thing with Senator Schiff and Senator Vidya. We were fortunate enough to attend their first joint breakfast where they both got together to address constituents. So we have a great photo in the packet here.
I wish I could share with you on the screen, but my computer just restarted, but definitely this is one of the photos
So you
there.
can see there's Senator Schiff, Senator Vidya, us in the middle. Really great conversations with both of them and their staff about our requests. We also updated them about the master plan. And part of this is like planting the seed for future requests that we're going to come back to them. We want to, kind of grease the wheel for the FIS support. And so by being in front of them, not just one time a year, but multiple times a year, is really good for building that relationship because they know about Palm Springs, but they didn't know all the details about the master plan and where we were. So that was also very, very helpful. We also touched base with Representative Ruiz and have a wonderful photo to show there. He was warm and welcoming, and as always, he does a lot for supporting their work, supports his whole community, and had again a series of meetings that were just very productive on both sides of the aisle. So we'll continue to foster and develop those relationships over the course of the next several years, because again, you just never know with this administration where things are going to end up, but we have to play the game in order to get as much revenue as we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark and Victoria. So yeah, it was a very productive meeting. We're actually going to do some follow-up here in the coming weeks. In fact, I was typing in an email earlier to Senator Schiff's staffer just to kind of make sure that we were still on the radar and help her out. But we'll continue to do these things just to make sure that people are aware of what's happening in Palm Springs and not just at the airport, but also region-wide as well. The other thing that I wanted to highlight in my executive director report is we are starting the planning process around a rental car facility, specifically the north side of the rental car facility. With that, we're exploring the potential for a P3 delivery method with that. So last week, I was in Dallas getting trained up on how to execute P3 agreements and what that looks like. We are anticipating having a kickoff meeting with our financial consultants, city staff, which includes the economic development director, as well as the finance director, our legal services, and I believe Scott was invited to that meeting as well, just to have an initial discussion around policy decisions, how it would work, what it looks like, what we need to be thinking about. At some point, we'll make a decision of whether we want to green light that type of delivery method for a rental car facility. And we'll begin the work of planning that and bringing that before the commission for some future discussion. So I just wanted to highlight those two items in executive director.
And can you just give us a 30-second advantage, disadvantage of P3 deals? So people know what we're talking about.
P3 is public-private partnerships. Basically, the airport will contract with an entity who will build and operate the facility and that they will finance it. It's basically done with taxable money versus the airport build it itself with airport staff managing it, building it with tax exempt funds. The advantage of a P3 is it gives, especially with an airport that's stretched for staff and expertise, you're getting the problem with somebody else. Deliver us this facility, we'll be there at the opening. The other one is we suffer through the entire process of getting it built. The big issue between the two is cost. You're paying private entities, private profits, et cetera. They're looking for a 12 to 15% return on this that we would be paying, that we would not be paying if we were building it ourselves. Now, both, I'm not saying that one is better than the other. You just have to realize there is a certain cost for doing the P3. And big entities like LAX has done both ways. So is DFW, LaGuardia, some P3s, Chicago basically privatized their parking system. Now there was a huge mistake and now we're undoing it. Same thing with, secondary airport in Chicago, I think they made it Midway. That was also done as a P3 when they did the massive renovation. And I understand they're trying to undo that too. So there's positives and negatives, but I'm sure that the FAA and the legal team and Mr. Barrett and the finance team will look at all options.
Yeah, that's our goal, is to explore the range of options. We do see a benefit in the form of speed to capital development, right? Because to your point, otherwise it takes up our resources, not only staffing, but money. So we can speed the process up by a number of years through a P3 delivery method. However, we understand there have been some failed partnerships out there. Denver Great Hall was one of them. So we're kind of looking at those things holistically to make sure that it makes sense for this.
You didn't do a whole presentation on that 2 or 3 meetings ago. Somebody was here presenting. I mean, it was a good. I think there was a whole section of the agenda that we talked about the highlight. I think one of the takeaways was contracts or everything. The language of the contracts. I remember that was burned into our heads.
2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, a coach from Skipple came here with a finance firm in Orange County. Again, just to get us smart about their P3s, whatever. And what I recall is there are some risks, but there's a speed to get it done when you work through a P3. So it's good that we're exploring this and you'll bring those options to us and see.
Should go buy or lease what it sounds.
That's kind of like
That's basically it.
Any other questions on Mary's executive report? Any questions from the public? Any questions online?
You know.
Good. We don't. Thank you for that. Commissioners requests and reports. Anything from the commission? Anybody wants to bring up or raise? Anything else, staff? Any good? Wow, record time, I love it. All right, our next meeting is on May 21st. It'll be in this room. We got one more to City Hall for the next 2 meetings after that. Any final comments before we wrap? All right, thank you, staff, for your preparation. Appreciate that. Thank you, commissioners, for all you do. Public, review. And this meeting is adjourned.